Good evening and welcome to Embracing Diversity, an online diversity initiative. Through these bi-weekly conversations, participants tackle race concerns and embrace diversity and inclusion with panelist discussions. Tonight's discussion is country music and its perceived race problem, and it is hosted by Reverend Vicki L. Hughes, DEI facilitator and consultant.
Good evening. I am the host and facilitator. This is us, meaning embracing diversity. I'm on here with several panelists tonight. We're a diverse group of individuals dialoguing on bi-weekly Wednesdays. If you've watched this before, you've seen different panelists on each time. We tackle difficult or critical conversations, different topics. We're a safe space for all to express their views without judgment. I have been listening to a lot of country music lately. I have liked some country music, but I've listened to some extra songs because tonight, that's what we're gonna be dialoguing about. You know, I like several of the songs, and I have a lot of people on here tonight who are country music fans. I have a former country music singer on tonight. A few people are in the music industry, actually. So again, we're dialoguing about country music. If you would please like this video and share it on your Facebook pages. And I'm talking to viewers as well as panelists. Please share now. People will be watching us live on our Embracing Diversity business page on Facebook. So please share. So tonight, we're gonna really delve into the topic, what's really going on with this genre called country music. This isn't going to be a music bashing type of dialogue. We're gonna learn about the origin of country music, its evolution, its purpose, some characteristics of country music, some of the artists considered to be country music singers and their songs. We're going to talk about some of the controversies that we've heard in recent years dealing with country music, some songs, as well as some artists. And we're going to talk about the appeal that we have, some of us have, why are we drawn to country music? I want to, before I engage my panelists in dialogue, I want to share a little bit of about the origin, the history of country music. So I have, I've done some research, and I'll have my panelists add some things as we dialogue. If they would like to add to this history or dispute some of it, that's fine. What I want to say is country music, also known as country and Western, originated in rural areas of the South and West in the early 20th century. And some articles that I was reading talked about how immigrants from Ireland and Scotland brought their banjos with them. We know that when Africans came over here as slaves, they brought some instruments with them. Drums and some other instruments would come from the continent of Africa. So immigrants brought some instruments and their styles of music over, which influenced country music. I want to tell you that when we start talking about the Grand Ole Opry, that is actually in Nashville, Tennessee. And then in 1927, in Bristol, Tennessee, which my understanding is it's somewhere in East Tennessee. I'm in Knoxville, so I'm not sure, I can't remember how far it is from me, but Bristol, Tennessee, that became the birthplace of country music as it welcomed various artists there to capture this genre of music of the South, country music. So here are a couple other tidbits quickly. Country, also called country and Western, is a genre of popular music that originated with blues, church music such as Southern gospel and spirituals, old time and American folk music forms, including Appalachian, Cajun, Creole, and the cowboy Western music styles of New Mexico, Red Dirt, Tijuana, and Texas country. Then I'm just reading some tidbits here. So a form of country music is what this is answering. What is country music? A form of popular music originating in the rural southern US. It is traditionally a mixture of ballads and dance tunes played characteristically on fiddle, guitar, steel guitar, drums, and keyboard. Why do they call it country music? Country was given its name to suggest that it was the music of rural America. The city had music like classical, jazz, big band, and rock and roll. So then there was the music of the countryside. So they called it country music. What was the purpose of country music? In R&B or other types of modern music, the idea was to, and still is, to make people dance. And this is saying in country music, it's often used to hurt people's feelings or to get them in their feelings. It could be about love or joy, hurt, different things. And when a country singer is wanting to hurt somebody's feelings, the person, you know, they might have written a song about, they were trying to make that person rethink the relationship that had just ended. I also have, what is the main message of country music? Country music has a history that is deeply rooted in traditional white, Southern, working class values, patriotism, conservative politics, and lyrics that tell the unblinking truth about life. What is the appeal of country music? Country music can calm you, it can fire you up, get you in your feels or feelings, because real country isn't written with making it on the radio in mind. It's written because they were inspired either from their own lives or from hearing a story from someone else's life, and then they ended up writing a song. So those are some little tidbits. I'm gonna run through a couple categories really quickly, and then I'm going to get the dialogue started. So in this article called A Brief History of Country Music, this is by Sean Dooley. It was updated May 23rd, 2019. Quickly, here are some, I guess they would be considered to be eras, E-R-A-S, of country music. Jimmie Rodgers is what the era was called. He was known as the father of country music. His first million-selling single was called Blue Yodel #1. He was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 1961. The next one is the first family of country music. That's, again, the category. The Carter family is listed here. They were the country music's first famous vocal group. Then there is another category, the rise of Bob Wills and Western swing. It originated in Texas and moved up through the Midwest in the late 1920s. Western swing reached its peak in the early 40s. It blended the upbeat, horn-driven sounds of the big band era with New Orleans jazz, blues, and Dixieland. Next category, Bill Monroe and the Bluegrass Boys. Bill Monroe was dubbed the father of bluegrass, credited with first popularizing bluegrass, a form of old-time mountain hillbilly music with its origins in Great Britain and West Africa. Bluegrass got its name from Monroe's band, the Bluegrass Boys. Then the next category is Hollywood Goes Country. The cowboy films of the 1930s and 40s contributed greatly to the evolution of country music. There were some stars like Roy Rogers and Gene Autry. Their music careers turned into successful acting careers. The honky tonk heroes is the next category. In 1942, Ernest Tubbs' recording of Walking the Floor Over You introduced this style of music, this brand called honky tonk. There were some other people during this era, Hank Williams, Lefty Frizzle. And then the next category is the Nashville sound. That movement came about in the 50s and 60s. It blended big band jazz and swing with great storytelling. The next one, and there are only a few left, trying to hurry through these. The Bakersfield sound was developed in the mid-1950s. That originated in the honky tonk bars in and around Bakersfield, California. And it was a lot grittier than the polished sound, as they called it, coming out of Nashville. It had, they had loud amped up guitars and loud drums. Merle Haggard came from that era. The outlaw movement was in the mid-70s. That had Waylon Jennings, Merle Haggard, David Allen Coe, let's see, and the Urban Cowboy. The 1979 John Travolta movie Urban Cowboy popularized a movement in country that focused heavily on easy listening, crossover success. Artists like Dolly Parton came from that era. Let's see, and Dolly Parton and some others actually ended up on the charts for country and pop music. The class of '89, I believe, is the last one. And it produced people like Alan Jackson, Garth Brooks. They drastically altered the direction of country music by infusing a youthful vitality and rock and roll mentality into a genre that was quickly growing stale and predictable. The amazing class of '89, is what the category is called, bridges the gap between 20th and 21st century country music. So that's it. Thank you for bearing with me as I kind of cruise through those things about the origin and the history. So we're gonna get started now. I have one of my cousins on here. Her name is Cynthia May Talley, and she is a former country music singer. So I'm going to have her sing a song, and then we'll get started with the dialogue.
Song called Little Past Little Rock. Just a little. I had to leave my life in Dallas, and that town will always be you. And every crowd on every corner, and every face I see. So we're nothing more than a take a guess. I drove away without looking back, and I guess that's all I got where I am. I'm going anywhere as fast as I can, and I'm a little past Little Rock, further down the line. Too soon to know what's up ahead, too late to change my mind. Gotta keep my heart out of this, both hands on the wheel. I'm learning more with every mile, just how living feels. I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you. That's my cousin, everybody, Cynthia May Talley. So I'm actually going to ask you a question, Cynthia, so you can get us started with the dialogue. So you are a former country singer. So why did you get out of the industry? What was your experience like in the industry years ago?
I enjoyed it. I had a lady named Mary Martin. I will use her name. She was one of Vince Gill's managers back in the day before they were letting ladies be a manager. And I got to go in studios and look for songs and met the group Wheels. And I really wasn't shined, and maybe it just wasn't, I wasn't what they wanted. I don't know. But we talk about, problems that you had in country music. I had more problems from my own kind than I did from, I guess you say the white world. So I didn't really, I just felt like maybe they just wasn't ready for me. Mary Martin tried to introduce me to people. I got introduced to Sony Records, Arista Records, and it just never went anywhere. So I don't know. Like I said, I had more problems from my own than I did from them.
Okay, thank you for sharing that.
Anything else to add to that? Yes, yes. Mhm. So,
Okay, thank you for sharing that, Cynthia. We have somebody from the music industry, let's see. Danny is in the music industry. Do you want to respond to what she just said?
Sure. First, good evening, everybody. Glad to meet you. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear
Yes,
me okay?
yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. My name is Danny Smith. I go by the name of D-Rated Producer. I'm from North Carolina, and I've been in the music industry now going on 30 years. My immediate response to what Ms. Talley said was, I'm not surprised. For whatever reason, there's a stigma attached to country artists within the African American community. And a lot of that has to do with, you know, how the music is viewed in African American circles. A lot of times, for whatever reason that you want to argue about, it has been diluted to, okay, country music is white music. And for whatever reason, and of course we all know that's wrong. So yeah, there has been that kind of a stigma, you know, for years. And it's kind of that same thing that Charlie Pride would talk about when he would be interviewed regarding his music career. And you know how he didn't like being labeled a black country singer. He just wanted to be a country singer. And so, but yeah, so yeah, my immediate response to her, it's unfortunate because you have a very pretty voice, and I can see that you know, given the right circumstances, you could have gone very far. You probably still could. But yeah, not surprised at all.
Thank you, Danny. Anybody else have a comment about country music or just breaking into the industry? Any advice to Cynthia if she wanted to try to break into the industry now? Do you all think the industry has changed? Should she try again?
You have a hand, it looks like, Vicky. Do you see?
Okay, is that Lena? Okay.
I'm hitting, okay, Derek, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'm glad to be here. Cynthia, you did a wonderful job. I enjoyed it immensely. I can't speak on the professionalism or being a singer. I'm a visual artist. However, I'd like to think that things have gotten better. I can only name 3 African-American country music stars that would be starting with Charlie Pride, Darius Rucker, and please don't laugh at me, Lil Nas X. All jokes aside, he has opened up doors. Now, some of his recent brouhaha going on, I don't know about that, but at the moment, the popularity of his brand of country music / hip hop, I applaud it. I really do. Still, the majority of the artists that I grew up listening to and the ones that I am a fan of happen to be Caucasian artists. But for me, I just like what I like. And I'll get into that later, but I just wanted to point out that I think as a layperson from the outside looking in, things seem to be getting better, but slower. But still, the one thing I also will add is I don't think there's an age issue like you see with standard hip hop or even R&B. I could see someone breaking into country now that's of a seasoned age. And so that's an advantage, I think.
Okay, thank you, Lena. Anybody else have any comments? It looks like Jeff has his hand up. Go ahead, Jeff. Jeff is a musician and you'll hear from him later.
Hi guys, I'm actually an amateur musician. I'm a professional artist, like Lena said. I just wanted to mention, I don't know if this is good or bad. You know, I think the only thing I've seen that sort of trumps racism in the country music industry is economics. And if somebody can cash a big enough check, then, well, hey, check out this guy Charlie Pride, or check out Darius Rucker, you know, et cetera, et cetera. You know, and I don't know. I worked a few years ago at the Country Music Festival down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And certainly, I think many people have done, you know, a good job at representing country music poorly, you know, and obviously a lot of the people, let's say it this way, I think a lot of people who are racist also like country music. You know, that doesn't necessarily make country music inherently one way or the other. I don't think we should pretend, you know, that a lot of the creators were probably racist, and partly just because that was the default position for a white person going back, you know, in the days. So I don't think that we should make excuses for that. As Danny pointed out, I think it's very real for some people, not all, that it is. This is for white people for some reason, you know, and I think that is there. The people that I know aren't those people because I'm who I am and I'm not closed-minded, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's all. Thanks for listening, y'all. That was just the thing about the economics of it. You know, somehow they find a way. It's not that big of a problem. Now that's the end of my comment. Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Let's see. Kim, do you have any comments?
Hi. I mean, you want my little 1 minute spiel?
Sure.
All right. So I had watched the Ken Burns documentary, Country Music, and the first episode talks about the rub and the fact that poor people of all ethnicities and colors they were all poor and they were all close to their respective ethnicities. And country music was a product of poor people of many ethnicities. And as and they, you know, they could find joy and cultural identity and sense of belonging with their with country music. And Vicky was saying there's a potential for authenticity in country music, and I think that is true. And Jeff's comment that profit is what drives the music industry caused early country to evolve and separate into race music, which would be Black artists and musicians, and hillbilly music, which would be the Scots-Irish descendants. But you know, there are Black people in Appalachia as well, and there's a lot of artificial separation, but there's a lot of racism, and there's a lot of artificial separation and just ignorance, not understanding that poor people are still cheek by jowl and learning from each other in many cases. So, and yes, the banjo, the violin, the tambourine were West African instruments that were brought here by West Africans and modified. And yeah, that's what I've got. That first episode, it bothers me because that first episode of that series says without Africans, we would never have country music. And it details a lot of the contributions, but then he never talks again about the innovation and the beauty that Africans brought to music until he gets to Charlie Pride. And then I did want to just jump in here and say that there are, I believe, 3 ladies doing country in Nashville right now. One of them is named Mickey Guyton, and So anyway, and there are a lot of good artists. I mean, there are a lot of good articles about, there's a Time magazine, Black artists built country music and then it left them behind. So yeah, this is a, I learned just from getting ready. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to be white. I'm embarrassed to like bluegrass. And I'm kind of grateful to be having this conversation and maybe defuse some of my own ignorance. So thank you for letting me be at the table.
No problem. Anybody else have any comments right now?
I saw Danny raise his hand, and then I wouldn't mind saying something afterwards.
Oh, please go. You can go ahead. I defer. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh, I was just thinking about what Kim said, and I'm grateful as well to be part of this. I was actually really excited about this happening. So I applaud you for Vicki for even doing this. It's a discussion that is, I'm sure has been had before, but I've never been privy to it. And I'm hoping to learn some things as well as get some things off my chest. Is country music my favorite genre? No, but it's one of the genres that I listen to frequently. It's not a every now and then. It's something like I've bought CDs, you know, even going back as far as cassette tapes. And for me, my love came from my father. You know, he came from a generation with Johnny Cash, Conway Twitty, Dolly Parton, Crystal Gale. I mean, the old school ones. Me, I'm more of Lady Antebellum. I know they've changed the name, but that's the name I have in my head. And I like some of the old school ones like Alan Jackson, Rascal Flatts, Randy Travis, the list goes on. But I wanted to speak on the, how do I say this? When discussing this with other African Americans, there's a shame that I don't personally feel, but that I feel that some people will try to put on you when you say that you like country music. And that's why I wanted to be part of this discussion, because I don't like to be boxed in. I don't like to be boxed in with my work, with my friends, with anything. And the idea that somebody would try to shame me because of my love of one specific genre, when I like pretty much everything but polka music. And if the right artist came along, I might like that too, is something I wanted to talk about. I resent the idea that there's this thought that country belongs to only Caucasians, and if you like it, you're a sellout. There's something wrong with you. You're going against the race somehow, and that is ludicrous, especially when you think about the roots of country music and how connected it is to blues music and gospel. To like country music is to like blues, is to like gospel, is to like just good singing and good music playing. Kim was talking about bluegrass, and I thought about how when I took viola lessons, one of my favorite experiences was learning how to play bluegrass. I resent the idea of putting color on music, and I invite younger people, older people to shun that when that happens, no matter where it's coming from. Nobody's going to make me feel like I have to pass some type of litmus test to prove that I'm somehow not Black enough if I want to rock out to whatever. I just wanted to get that off my chest.
Thank you for sharing, Lena. I can relate to you. And I mean, I grew up playing the violin, so I have an appreciation for a lot of different music, including classical. So yes, yes. All right, I think Danny had a comment or two.
Yeah. maybe, perhaps. Couple of things. Ms. Talley, I'm gonna save something for last that I want to talk to you about, but just to echo what the young lady was saying, I grew up, I'm originally from a little town called High Point, North Carolina. And for those of you who don't know where High Point, North Carolina is, it's the home of the International Home Furnishing Market. It is where John Coltrane, the jazz musician, grew up. And of course, it is the hometown of Fantasia Barrino. who won American Idol. And so when I was growing up in the early 70s, the radio stations there, we didn't have just R&B stations at that time. We had stations that played everything. So in my early childhood development, I grew up on Charlie Daniels, Ronnie Millsap, Charlie Pride, and John Denver, you know, but I also grew up on the Temptations and Stevie Wonder and Jimi Hendrix and everybody else, which is kind of why I'm a music head now. But also my response to people when they say, oh, you like country music or whatever, and you know, when they say something about me liking country music, I'm like, oh, you just don't know your history. You know, you don't know that country music, at the foundation of country music is blues, right? At the foundation of country music, that's people that look just like us that created that music. Funny fact, you brought up Jimmy Rogers, Reverend Hughes, when you were going down talking about country music. Jimmy Rogers had a job in his early days. He was working on the railroad, and he would listen to the African-American workers during their chants, because when African-Americans worked on the railroad, they had chants, and he would listen to that. And so that chant became the hollering and the yodeling that he made famous in his music.
Wow.
You know? And so to me, my pushback to that is, if you don't really like country music, maybe you need to do some history, you know, do some research first before you say what you like and what you don't like. All right. One of my earliest exposures to country music was my granddaddy's Ray Charles record. And the last time I checked, Ray Charles was Black. So that's that part. Miss Tally, the thing that I would tell you as someone who champions independent music, the internet now is so great that if you make your music and get a marketing plan and get a plan together, you won't need record companies, you won't need radio stations, you won't need anybody. It'll just be you connecting with your audience. And if you want to talk about that later, we definitely can have that conversation. But that is the amazing thing about technology now and the internet, is that a lot of technology has removed those barriers that once stood in the way of artists being able to reach an audience. So that's my view.
Thank you, Danny. And Cynthia, I hope you're hearing that. Danny is a producer, songwriter, manager. So I'm going to connect you all after this. All right. We want you back in the spotlight, singing your country music. So, you know, Danny, I wanted to add something else to what you were saying. You mentioned some things about Jimmy Rogers, who is supposed to be the father of country music. But I've done a lot of research over the last few days. I've liked country music, but I didn't know a lot about the history. So when I looked up information about Hank Williams, who was one of the country's first music stars. Let's see, he debuted his music at the Grand Ole Opry, that's in Tennessee, and he debuted his music in 1949. But one of the things it said when I was reading about him is that he grew up in Alabama at his birthplace, and it said in this article that Hank Williams was given guitar lessons at a young age by Black blues musician Rufus Payne. So I just wanted to mention that, so his roots came from his talent started with getting lessons on how to play the guitar by a Black person. Anybody else have any comments?
I was wondering how some of the panelists feel about moving across race for a minute and thinking about diversity in country music itself. Artists like Taylor Swift, who kind of straddle the fence between country and pop, or before her, Shania Twain, because what I have seen sometimes with diehard country musicians, things have gotten better, but there was a time when I felt like you were either doing real country music or they weren't considering you really being true to the essence of the genre. And I'm wondering where people feel, how you all feel about the Taylor Swifts, the Shania Twains, or the Kid Rock, because at one point he was country, hip hop, something else or whatever. Of the people I mentioned, I'm a fan of Shania and Taylor to a degree. Never been a fan of Kid Rock, but putting him in that group of people who straddle the fence, where do you stand on that? I think that within music, period, there's always going to be the purists who are going to feel like that's not real R&B, that's not real rock, that's not real gospel or whatever. And I'm just curious where people stand on that, because that is something else I'm wondering, because at one point it was really rigid.
Anybody can answer.
I
Comment?
don't like anybody being knocked down, least of all women. I want people to be able to make the music that they want to make. And I think if that's what you enjoy and that's what works for you and your musical, your musical support, they ought to be able to do and play and enjoy what they want. Taylor Swift is one of my guilty pleasures because she sang songs that a bullied first grader needed to hear when my child was in first grade. So she needed that message. So I'll be grateful to her for a long time. And women should get to do and say and play and sing what they want.
Agreed.
Well,
Anybody
I'll
else?
chime in. Yeah. I'll chime in. The same purists that talk about Shania Twain and Taylor Swift are those same purists that talk about how Black people don't belong in country music. And as far as I'm concerned, they can kick rocks. We're in an age now that we've moved, as far as consumers, we've moved from ownership to access. All right. So people don't have album collections anymore, CD collections anymore. You have a Spotify playlist, you have an Apple Music playlist, and which means that you can listen to whatever you want to, whenever you want to. With that being said, no purist is going to tell me what I find to be popular or what I want to listen to just as a consumer, let alone as someone in the music industry. And so if I like Shania Twain, great, I do. I'll listen to Shania Twain. I'll tell you a story. I think it was around 2004. There's a song, and I'll be very respectful because I know Reverend Hughes is here. There's a song that came out by Big and Rich that was entitled Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy. That was my theme song for that year. I love that song, and I'm not going to recite any of it. But the fact that I had some friends of mine that were like, that's not even real country. It's like, man, whatever. If I like it, I'm going to get it. And, that's my song. So that's where we are now. Forget the purists. What can they actually do for you right now? Nothing. So that's my spiel.
I love that.
Okay. Hey, I just want to say, even though I'm an ordained minister, I pride myself in creating a safe space for everybody. So you all feel free to say whatever you want to say. I've had people use curse words on here or whatever. So you can say whatever.
Reverend Hughes, respectfully, it is never safe from my grandparents in heaven. I will get a visit. So let me just say, that's just how I was raised.
Okay.
Hey, we just go keep it like that.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that song, so I was, okay.
I like it. It's a good song.
Okay.
It's pretty fun.
And what's the name of it? What is
Save a horse, ride a cowboy. Save a horse, ride a cowboy.
Okay.
A lot of innuendo there, but it's a funky song.
Okay. Okay. And who's the
I
artist?
still listen to that from time to time. Big and Rich. Big, B-I-G, and Rich, R-I-C-H.
Okay. I'll have to listen to that one. And then I'll just say, Danny made me do it.
It's not that bad. I don't think so. It's a
Okay.
little secular, but I've certainly heard worse.
Okay. Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. Let's see. I mean, I want to further into the conversation. I want to talk about some of the controversies involved with some of these artists that have been mentioned, like Lil Nas X, and I have some other questions. But does anybody else have anything to say? Like, I really am wanting to know. I mean, we have Blacks and whites on here tonight, all ages, both genders. What is the appeal to country music for each of you? What do you like about it? How does it make you feel when you're listening to it? Anybody can answer. Jeff?
It's grandma's warm old blanket.
Okay.
The texture of some of it. It's that feeling in a sound.
I like that.
When it
So,
works well.
Feel good, nurturing type of feeling.
Yeah, I think it can be. And then some of it is just foot tapping. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Not working. Okay. And then sometimes it's just I always use AC/DC, the rock band. I mean, very simple music, but they every song basically they knock it out of the park. It's just, and so some country music is like that too. But I've recently been listening to this guy John Prine. I've been sending some stuff in the message. I'll send you that too. And there's this new guy, Sturgill is his last name. But anyway, I think it's about the texture. When it's good and sort of that old familiar, like I said, old grandma's blanket. I'm gonna try to turn off my sound. There you go.
Jeff, you sound great. You sound fine.
Okay. Anybody else wants to go next?
If you want.
I'll-
Okay. Kim, you got.
To me, country music, it tells a story. And depending on how you're feeling and what's happening in your life, you can always find a song that relates to it. And singing it, I believe when I sing, I feel it. It's a feeling in your heart and soul. And it's very soothing. A little tear-jerking, but it's very soothing. So it's a soulful thing for me. I live in the country. I sit on a pretty good bit of land, thanks to my grandfather, my dad, my mom. And we used to have cattle, we raised hogs, we do tobacco. And I had a man by the name of Ted Sullivan. He got me into it. He thought I had the look, and he thought I could do it. And I also started singing in concert choir at school. And he got me into it, and I could just embrace it. So it's a feeling. And if I could sing it and make you feel what I'm feeling, that's a good feeling. I can't explain it, but it's a good feeling.
Thank you, everybody. And I forgot to mention, I don't think you mentioned this, Cynthia, you live right in the Nashville area, so the country music is big. So. Anybody else want to talk about what country music does for them? How it makes them feel?
Kim's raising her hand.
Kim?
Yeah.
I think you're raising your hand?
Thank
Okay.
you. Yeah. I grew up in a bit, yeah. So I am Appalachian all the way, both sides. And that music just sort of hits me in the gut and gets my toe tapping, and I will clog a little or buck dance or whatever they call it. And there was also my grandpa. We had the Outlaws at home, and I love Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings and that sort of transgressive sound and the Texas sound. But my grandpa had a Tom T. Hall children's album. And when I think of my grandpa, I think of that Outlaws album. and several other, Willie Nelson. And then I think of Tom T. Hall and the children's album that my grandfather kept for us to, I don't know, it was just, it's the good parts of my grandpa, and it's my gut all the way back. And I am fully at home and grateful with the idea that this music that hits me in the gut is a shared music between ancestors of all colors and nations coming together in America. And I'm so glad to be getting a little bit of a history lesson tonight. And so thank you for letting me speak.
Okay, let's see, did everybody go? Did everybody talk about their feelings? Lena?
I'll add one more thing. It's a memory that I have from the late 1990s. Picture it, Charlotte, downtown, the height of the spoken word thing where everybody wanted to be a poet. And I remember, you remember those days, Jeff? And I remember going to this place downtown. I can't remember the name of it, but it was in the heart of Charlotte proper. And this a real hip hop kind of vibe, you know, it looks like the setting for the movie Love Jones. And yet this girl comes on and she's, you know, it's open mic and she wants to sing. And she was like, I hope you all don't mind, but there's a song in my heart I want to share. And you all may have heard of it, I don't know. And she did Crazy by Patsy Cline. Patsy Cline was one of my favorite and still one of my favorite artists to this day. And that goes for my father as well. We shared her in common as one of our favorite country music artists. And the magical moment was she starts singing it, but a room full of, to be honest with you, mostly African-American people, we all knew the song. And we're all like, doom, 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 crazy. And I loved it, you know, because what I remember from that moment is it's just music, the connection, you could feel it. And it's and I'm not saying that other genres don't have this in common, but for me with country music, if somebody is angry, if they're sad, when I hear that song and I hear Carrie Underwood talking about taking a Louisville Slugger back to her ex-boyfriend's car, she meant that. I felt it. And that's what I love about it. Same with Patsy Cline, when she sang about her heartbreak, to this day, I just, you know, she's singing about her cheating ex-husband. And we all saw the movie with Jessica Lange, so it's coming from a real place.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing, everybody. For me, I think, you know, I love hearing the songs about love and just real life experiences. It makes me feel good. And sometimes the songs make me sad, happy. I was listening to one earlier today and I cannot remember who the artist is, but he was an older gentleman and the song is called Hurt. And, you know, I started thinking about how, as we're getting older, we think about, you know, things we might not be able to do or things we regret from our past. Somebody just sent me a message saying it's from Johnny Cash. And so he's an older man, older country singer. You know, and actually, I can't remember if he's still living or not. But anyway, you know, he just was talking about being an older person and the things he regretted from his past and just thinking about how he's aged. And I could really relate to that. I'm you know, a middle-aged person, almost 60 years old. And so, you know, it hit home for me. It did something to me where I was just reflecting on my past and thinking about where I am now and things I want to do in my future before I die, whenever that's going to be. So again, you know, it's, you know, I feel a range of emotions. One thing I was going to say is, you know, because I knew that we were doing this dialogue tonight, I was really Googling, trying to find out what about the country music industry is deemed to be racist. And so, you know, we're going to talk about some of the controversies, but you know, one thing I noticed was, as I was Googling song and listening to songs, I didn't feel that there was anything racist about them necessarily, like as far as the lyrics. And then I actually stumbled across this, it's like an article, and it's called the 14 of the most controversial country songs throughout history. And most of them are talking about the songs being controversial because they talk about abortion or premarital sex and things like that. And there was only one that I would deem to be, you know, deal with racism or anti-racism, and it's by Brad Paisley, and it's called Accidental Racist. It was in 2013, and apparently it didn't really make it into the mainstream, I guess, radio rotation. It is basically talking about about racism, and it has Brad Paisley, who is a white male, and LL Cool J is in it towards the end. So this is the little blurb that this article says about it. This is likely about this song. This is likely another case of good intention gone wrong, but Brad Paisley's song featuring LL Cool J brought in so much controversy before it came out that it didn't even make it as a single. The song is supposed to be a reconciliation between a white Southerner proud of his heritage and a Black man still confronting racism, but it just comes off as a horribly clumsy gaffe. You've got to think Paisley, who has written some killer songs, would want a do-over with this one. And I mean, again, I listened to the song, and it actually is something that needs to be heard. Again, the year was 2013. This needs to be heard because it's actually talking about a white man and a Black man, just a white, Black period, talking about their differences, but yet saying, hey, some things have happened in our past with slavery and everything else, but you know, now it's the time for us to move forward. Can we get along? That kind of a message. And so it's really unfortunate that it didn't make it to radio rotation where more people could have heard it. Has anybody heard of that song? It's called Accidental Racist, Brad Paisley. Does anybody know what song I'm talking about?
I know the song, I've never heard of it, but I heard about the controversy.
I've heard it.
Hmm.
Oh gosh. Okay, I'm muted. I thought it was you. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, Danny, I was asking. Okay, so you said you've heard the lyrics. Okay, well, I mean, what do you think about the lyrics? I just told everybody how it made me feel. I feel like people need to hear that song.
Okay, yeah, the song in and of itself is positive, and if it didn't have such a complicated past, then maybe we could appreciate the art of the music. But when you start talking about a white Southerner wanting to appreciate his heritage, you start getting into some complicated conversations that a lot of people don't want to have. And it's, you know, similarly in country music, and we talk about the roots of racism. You know, there were things in the record industry in the 50s and the 60s that if you were a Black songwriter and you wanted to break in, you know, you had to sign away just about all of your publishing just to get, you know, make a living, you know? And a lot of songwriters died broke, couldn't afford their own funerals. And while the songs that they wrote for those artists went on to, they're still generating thousands upon thousands of dollars. And so we're talking about that type of heritage. We're talking about the Confederate flag and Confederate statues, and we're talking about renaming college dormitories. Funny thing, Lena, you were talking about the downtown Charlotte. I was a student at UNC Charlotte during that time, and that suspiciously sounded like the Moon Room, and I want to say I was there the night that she did that.
Yes, it was the Moon Room. That was it. You were there.
We need to compare notes later, but don't say anything else until we can get our facts straight. But that is the type of, when you start delving into the history of Black and white relations as it pertains to not only this country, but to music in and of itself, then you get to why this song is an actual problem. You know, we can't even have the conversation about other stuff. And now we want to reconcile. Well, we haven't really reconciled slavery yet, have we? We haven't reconciled Jim Crow yet, have we? We haven't reconciled voter tampering, the civil rights movement. We haven't reconciled any of that. So, but this one song, now we want to reconcile? That in and of itself is why it was.
Well, when I was listening to the song, I wrote some words off to the side. So Brad Paisley sings towards the end of it, I guess, right before L Cool J, chimes in and starts rapping. Brad Paisley sings, "We are still caught between Southern pride and Southern blame." So, that's what a lot of Caucasian people are dealing with, but at least they're addressing it or acknowledging it, recognizing it. So I want to say that, but then, so that brings me to a different song. Mickey Guyton, is a Black female who recently was nominated for an award. She didn't win it, but she was nominated for an award at the Country Music Awards, or was it the American Music Awards? I don't remember. But anyway, she performed this song, Black Like Me. So, okay, so if we don't like accidental racist, that song, then, okay, some people could say, well, she has this song called Black Like Me. And even though I listened to the lyrics of that and I could definitely relate to them, but then a Caucasian person could say, well, it has the word Black in it. That seems racist to me because even though she's singing about herself, her own life, it still says Black Like Me. So anybody want to comment about that song?
Well, I
Or the
have
perception, I guess.
Yeah, I haven't heard that song, but I did see her name as I was trying to figure out if the head count had gotten any better in country music. So obviously I need to check her out. But I kind of grew up with a band called DriveBy Truckers, and they did an album in the late 90s, and it was about the duality of the Southern thing and how poor whites didn't have anything to do with slavery and they wanted that off their backs and whatever. And they and they're my age and older, and they have matured into understanding the harm done by that sort of shrugging off of the reality and that sort of saying, it wasn't me, my people are poor, and not understanding that just by virtue of skin color and features, they're not up against what Black people are up against. And so I think a lot of white people pass through the Brad Paisley phase where they mean well, or the duality of the Southern thing where they mean well. And now the DriveBy Truckers won't play that song anymore because people with Confederate flags are all like, yeah, and they don't, the DriveBy Truckers guys are from Alabama and they're Black Lives Matter people. They're not Confederate flag people. So we're learning, I think. And some people get there a little faster than others. And I guess I'm ahead of Brad and I'm behind someone else who's smarter than me. So that's my comment. We're learning.
Thank you, everyone. This is a great dialogue, and we're learning things and disagreeing, agreeing. I have the lyrics to Black Like Me in front of me. I can read a couple of them. God, let me read this 6 font wording here. It says, she starts out with, little kid in a small town. I did my best just to fit in. Broke my heart on the playground. When they said I was different, oh, now I'm all grown up and nothing has changed. Yeah, it's still the same. It's a hard life on Easy Street. Just white painted picket fences far as you can see. If you think we live in the land of the free, you should try to be Black like me. My daddy worked day and night for an old house and a used car just to live that good life. It shouldn't be twice as hard. Oh, now I'm all grown up and nothing has changed. Yeah, it's still the same. It's a hard life on Easy Street. just white painted picket fences far as you can see. If you think we live in the land of the free, you should try to be, oh, black like me. That's how it starts out. So those are lyrics from Mickey Guyton's song, Black Like Me. Anybody want to comment?
Yeah, I do want to comment. The difference between Mickey's song and Brad Paisley song is that Black Like Me addresses the history. It addresses the lack of reconciliation that we've had in this country, for the past 100 years. Not surprising, nobody really wanted to talk about it, which is why the song, it did well, but didn't do as well. And some perceive it as, once again, it's a conversation that people don't want to have. Brad Paisley's theory, along with LL Cool J, was, hey, let's just come together and, we'll just, we'll find a happy medium or whatever. And while ignoring the past. And so to me, the first time I heard Black Like Me, it was growing up in church. This was like a lament. This was like a prayer. This was like a hey, this hurts. This is being Black in America, the duality of being American and being Black. This hurts being in America. And so it's a with country music being such a popular genre, for whatever reason, dealing with hard issues like that, it's not very popular at times, so to me, that's kind of the difference.
Okay, thank you for sharing that, Danny. Okay.
Vicky, can I add something real quick?
Sure.
I was thinking about the Brad Paisley LL Cool J song, and I haven't heard it, but when I heard about the two artists, because I know who they both are, this is my thing. I hate forced diversity. There's something really corny about it. And I think maybe that might have been the problem. Like, it just makes me think of a Benetton ad. Like, let's just get all these people of different races and sizes and heights together and smush them together and get this We Are the World thing going on. If it doesn't seem authentic and organic, it just seems like BS. And I'm just like, I'm not here for it. The thing with Lil Nas X, when he came together and, oh God, achy breaky heart. I can't think of his name right now.
Billy Ray.
Billy Ray.
Thank you. When they came together, it felt real. I mean, like, they went out and got a beer after they finished in production. And there's something about forced diversity when you feel like, I feel like when somebody's giving me a message like, hey, it's 2021. It's time to just come together as brothers and sisters. When it's forced, people don't, I just think they don't like it. I think we're here for it when it's honest, but when it just seems like you're just trying to make some money off of it, it just makes me think of those old Benetton ads, and it annoys me.
They want to take the credit, but they don't want to do the work.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay. Well, okay. So speaking of Lil Nas X, I mean, I've learned some more about him today, and then I listened to the song Old Town Cowboy, and wait, where's my note? Wait, is that right? Do I have the right, the name of it, Old Town Cowboy?
Road.
Right?
Road.
Okay. Huh?
Old Town Road.
Old Town Road. Okay, I'm sorry.
Hey,
I have
Arthur.
so many notes here. Y'all forgive me. What I was gonna say is, so I listened to the version with him, but then he was dogged for it. And I mean, I was trying to read about and understand the controversy. So he was dogged for it. He's this young black man. He was 19 when this song was, produced, when he came up with it, Old Town Road. And 19 years old, a black male living in Atlanta, Georgia, which is a city. He did not grow up in the country. So, he's been dogged for that, or he was then a couple years ago. But then I saw a version where he and Garth Brooks are doing it. And then they performed together on made an appearance on one of the country music award shows. So it took Garth Brooks for him to be recognized for this song. It took Garth Brooks getting involved. Is that what the story is?
Um, Let me, first I want to apologize for being late. My power went out at my house.
Hey,
I'm
Arthur, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. I'm not a country music fan, so I was actually doing a lot of research today to get in preparation for this. So, I asked my people, my friends, what their perceptions were about racism in country music. And Old Town Road was brought up, not for the content of the song at all, but yes, because he was ostracized. In fact, Billboard pulled him out of the country music category because he did some sampling. He did use techniques that were used in, rap, hip hop kind of music. And so what I got an overwhelming response from people was that it's the industry itself, not the music per se. It's kind of hard to find music that is overtly racist. It's out there, but it's more more of a process of elimination and gatekeeping, so that the racism is more behind the scenes, preventing the entry of different voices. And it's not just Black artists. There was a really interesting article I read about Johnny Cash, and he did a song called The Ballad of Ira. I sent that article to you. It was Ira Nash, I think. And it was about a Native American who fought in World War II, fought at Iwo Jima, and they wouldn't play Johnny Cash's song on the radio because it had an inclusive quality to it. And so it demonstrates the like I said, the gatekeeping, it's more a matter of omission than anything else, of keeping certain music out of the culture, if you will.
Okay. Thank you, Arthur. And I sent that article to Kim. I wanted her to read it. So Kim, do you want to say anything about the article that Arthur was talking about? And Arthur, could you please send a link put the link in the chat so that it will be, my tech person could put it in our comments?
Yeah, and my friend William Keener wrote that. William's a really neat guy out of Hickory, North Carolina. So hang on a second here, and I will find that.
Okay. Okay, while you're looking for it, let's have Kim respond. Like I said, she did read it, so the same article.
The article for me was about one of my favorite things, which is, begging your pardon, Reverend, Johnny Cash's Stink-a-Finger. And he was famously caught sharing that gesture on camera. And I get, the article was much more, I believe, about Johnny Cash just in general. He was anti-war, he was pro-soldier. I grew up on Drunken Ira Hayes. I had no idea that the country music industry didn't want to play it because I had it on an album. So that's really strange. But yes, he was an advocate. And in that article, it also has a song, a link to him singing about the young people today. Maybe you should slow down, and instead of making fun of young people today, maybe you should lift them up. Maybe they want to know why, and they want us to be honest instead of this double speak that we give them. We learn such and so is bad when we're at home or in Sunday school. Then we go out into the world and people are doing it all the time. So the song that it was a wonderful song about lifting up young people who are trying to work for truth. And it doesn't really speak strictly to racism as such, but it does speak to his desire for change, positive change, and human decency. And at one point he says, what did he say? It's good to know who hates you, and it's good to be hated by the right people. And I think that sums it up. And so I loved it. And I'm coming around also to the idea that I'm not here to make friends unless it's as my authentic self doing what I think is right. So I love Johnny Cash. I always will. There's also an iconic picture of him with the American flag wrapped around him. So I've rambled, but yes, it was a cool article.
What's interesting is when I went into that article, I wasn't sure what the viewpoint and the takeaway was on it. And I was kind of surprised at first because I thought it was criticizing Johnny Cash, and I had to really read through the whole thing and listen to the songs and understand what his point was. And the point was that he was ostracized by the country radio, the country music community. And the protest song that you talked about, William, the writer, he mentions that as a response to President Nixon. And in fact, he indicates that the stink finger, the bird, was kind of addressed at his country music critics and at Nixon and that sort of thing. So it was pretty interesting. It's an interesting read.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. I wanted to shift gears to another controversy really quick. It's about 9:45, so I'm trying to be mindful of the time. If we could talk about these controversies and this, how the country music industry has evolved over the years, how the industry can clean up its image in our remaining 15 minutes. And also I need to save time for Jeff. He is going to do a short performance on his guitar, a country music song. So anyway, so this is what I'm just gonna read this really quick. Country music's race problem came to the forefront this year when country singer Morgan Wallen was caught on tape using the N-word. At the time, he was booted from the radio, suspended by his record label, yet sales and streaming numbers, I guess what you would call it, soared. Even though, again, he'd been booted from radio, suspended by his record label. It's believed that white supremacy is embedded in the industry. So, how do you all respond to this controversy with Morgan Wallen? That was recent. I believe it was February of this year, 2021. Anybody want to comment?
The magic phrase that you said was caught on tape.
Mm-hmm.
That's the magic phrase, because we're all adults here. We're all of reasonable intelligence, so we can assume that is not the first time the N-word has been said by someone in the country music industry in its 100-year existence. It's just might have been the first time someone actually got caught on tape. And it's indicative of the kind of culture that we're in now, this cancel culture, that they will come and they will publicly remove him from this, remove him from that, his audience will still go and buy his music. His audience will still go and listen to, watch his music videos. And when the controversy has died down, he will still have a career. Mark my words. And so that in and of itself is just, that's where we are. That's what the industry does.
I think that is sort of a microcosm, a small model of what's happening everywhere in our country. Okay, is that from a business perspective, from sponsors, from a money perspective, they're like, oh, we got to pull this guy, right? But there are so many avenues to get your information, your entertainment, whatever it is that you want, then absolutely, this isn't going to affect him. It might increase his income actually and his exposure, because there are so many people out there that are the you know, I'm going to Charlottesville, Virginia tomorrow because it's the 4th anniversary of the murder of Heather Heyer. And there were not good people on both sides, but, you know, there are people that think there were. And this is part of the same thing. It's that you've got this demographic in America that doesn't want to see social justice. They don't want to see equality. They don't want to see democracy. And so the country music industry, and specifically the case of, you know, I don't like the word cancel culture because I think boycotting has got a very strong tradition in America. But they're just doing it for money. They're just pulling him because the sponsors are going to feel pressure from the listeners, and you know, this whole trickle down. But when it comes to the, you know, behind the scenes, anything that they can do to promote him and make a buck without looking bad in the public eye, they're absolutely going to do.
Okay, thank you.
Like I said earlier, for good or bad, if you'll make them enough money, they'll make it okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We can overlook that. You know?
Yes, this is not a moral decision. This is an economic decision.
Everybody has such great points. I want to pull Cynthia in here. Another controversy was, let's see. Okay, so Lady Antebellum, I believe Lena said she likes her music. I think
Hey,
it was Lena.
bartender.
Huh?
Hey, bartender.
The what?
Hey, bartender, one of their big hits.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I was gonna ask Cynthia. So, you know, I was reading this article. It's found on npr.org, and it was written in February 2021, and the title of it is "With All Eyes on Country Music, Will Black Nashville Get the Reckoning It Deserves?" It's by Julie, Jewly Height, Hight. She mentioned some current Black country singers in the Nashville area. Miko Marks is a woman, Rizzy Palmer, a woman, Mickey Guyton, who we've heard of, a woman, and then Willie Jones, a man. But you know, she was just really talking about the climate there and everything. But she happened to mention the controversy with Lady Antebellum, who is now going by Lady A, and there's a lawsuit going between Lady Antebellum, and a lady named Anita White, who is a Black blues singer, who also uses Lady A. So the controversy is, and there's a lawsuit and a counter claim by Anita White against Lady Antebellum. The court is going to have to sort out who trademarked that Lady A name first. But apparently, as I was reading about this in that article and on the internet, there's some controversy, or I guess there's problems. People have problems with the way Lady Antebellum, now Lady A, has been treating Anita White. So there's a white woman and a Black woman involved in this. Cynthia, what are your comments on that? The whole controversy.
Well, I don't know anything about it for sure. I can't sit here and say that I do.
Okay.
It'd be hard for me to comment on that because I work so much. I'm not on the news channels as much listening.
Okay.
Have my own racist situations, but I can't really comment on that one. I don't know anything about it.
Okay. Does anybody want to comment about the two Lady A's that are out here?
Yeah, we you know, this is a situation that we covered in our podcast last year. And basically it boils down to Lady A, the singer, never trademarked her name. And she never went through the proper channels to trademark her name because she didn't think she had to. And so the sad part about it is she's already lost that case. And you know, because Lady Antebellum decided that, their name was no longer popular, they didn't bother to, they did a trademark search, and there was no other Lady A's out there, you know? And so it's unfortunate. And I want to say, and I have to go back to my notes, but I want to say they offered her like $20,000 or some amount of money, and she turned it down because she said, "I've been Lady A, since the mid '80s, making a living," and she thought their offer was an insult. And so it's really interesting when you think about it. When you think about Lady Antebellum probably should have thought about their name before they got into this in the first place.
Yeah.
And the fact that they actually, as my young ones say, they bodied this lady's name away from her. And the fact that the same sort of system that was in place during the antebellum period is somehow now juxtaposed in this corporate represented white band with this black lady with no protection or no representation. Sad case.
Well, and my understanding is with Lady Antebellum, she decided to change the name after George Floyd's murder, and when social justice and just race relations all of a sudden came to the forefront in a big way around the world, not just in this country. My understanding is that's when she decided to change, start using this Lady A. And
it's just ironic that no one thought to realize what antebellum actually meant.
Right.
Until George Floyd. Isn't that just ironic? Insert sarcasm.
Right. And then Anita White, the Lady A, the other Lady A, is saying, she filed a counterclaim because she's saying that since Lady Antebellum has been using Lady A, it has overshadowed her presence on the internet. And so she's saying she's lost work and just her image is tarnished. So, we'll see. Well, you said it's already been in the court system. So.
Oh yeah, that's a done deal.
Yeah, okay.
Can I add something real quick?
I thought it was still going on. So, okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut anybody off. Just something you said triggered a thought in my head. I agree with what Danny said. I think it's unfortunate. And even though I'm a fan of Lady Antebellum, and I think they should have either won. First time I heard Antebellum, I was born and raised in Charlotte. I took, North Carolina history just like most people did. You hear the term antebellum, I'm thinking Scarlett O'Hara and Fiddly Dee Dee and all that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, okay, if that's the name you wanted to use, take that L, keep the name. They'd have been better off just keeping it what it was. As far as Lady A is concerned, I feel bad for her, but let's be honest, this is probably the most recognition she's ever had. Most people have probably never heard of this lady before. Me personally, and I don't know, I'm not saying I would have taken the money, but I don't see how this hurt her image. If anything, this falls under all press is good press. This doesn't make her look bad. If anything, it would make Lady Antebellum look bad. Like, wow, they can't win for losing. They changed their name and they steal this black lady's name. If it were me, I just would have just let the chips fall where they may and rode that attention train and just let, all this press keep coming to me. I call BS. I don't think it hurt her career at all. I think we know about her now.
Yeah. And when we think about the evolution of country music over the years, I think it was about time for the word antebellum to go away. So,
yes.
But
it sounds so pretty, doesn't it?
Oh gosh.
Such a pretty word.
That I referenced, the author Julie. She was basically saying that she was puzzled by the fact that Darius Rucker, who is a one of the current Black male country singers, Darius Rucker, and a lady named Rakaya Marshall, and I wrote her information somewhere. She is I guess over a label, and she is the girlfriend of a white male, I guess, country singer. Anyway, Julie is wondering why Darius Rucker and Kaya Marshall were supporting Lady Antebellum, aka Lady A, and people like Morgan Wallen. So, these are two Black people I'm talking about, Darius and Rakaya. So I just wanted to mention that. Again, that's in that article, and I need to share it with Crystal so she can put it in the chat. But okay, so we're it's almost time for us to end. It looks like we're going to go a little over 10 o'clock, but I just don't want to go a long time over. Could somebody tell me a few? Gosh, here I am muted again. I don't know what you all didn't hear. Anyway, I was saying that we're almost at 10 o'clock. So if you all would please just, a few of you, if you would just say, how can the industry clean up its image if it needs to be cleaned up? How can they clean it up? And then if a few of you all would comment, and then I want to have Jeff play his country music song before we end.
I'll say that I think in order for it to be significant change, it's sort of like the Oscars. There has to be from within the industry people who want to see change and are willing to step up and speak about it. So until you get stars that are going to address the issue, as well as people who should be getting more recognition, and to tell their stories of how the obstacles that they faced. But the fan base and the industry leaders, not only the recording artists themselves, but the songwriters and the engineers and the producers, all of them, there needs to be a reckoning and an acknowledgement, and people need to there's got to be people that are willing to step up and make some waves.
I don't think the fan base, I don't think there's enough percentage of people to push that. I think there's too many people that just sort of shrug that off. And until that changes, I think it's a slow reflection of the culture. And I think country music certainly a little bit behind, sort of the rest of music, because people, they simply tolerate it. They go, oh, well, I know lots of people that say the N-word. What's,
Okay. Anybody else? Quickly comment. How can the country music industry clean up its image?
I was watching
Country.
a
Oh,
previous.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep.
Oh,
I was
who's
watching
that?
previous BET awards, I think, and Rihanna was saying, I know you have white business associates. I know you have white people who want to have relationships with you. Tell them to pull up. And I just think these industries need to pull up, and that there should be some sort of shift of profit away from racist institutions that fail the head count toward institutions that are truly diverse and inclusive, not just a cute little diversity statement, but doing the work. That is my comment. I've got more, but I'll stop.
Okay, let's see.
Jeff is shaking his hand. Oh,
We can't hear you, Vicky. You're
Geez,
muted.
I don't know why I keep getting muted. Okay, so let's see, Lena and Danny, I don't think you've said any closing comments, or just how can the industry clean up the industry image?
I think that Kim, Arthur, Jeff had great points. I'm going to piggyback on something that Jeff said. I think that the fan base does determine what the studio heads are going to do. And as much as we may not like to admit it, I think that country music fans at their core demographic feel like it belongs to a certain type of fan, and that fan will be white people. But here's the other thing. I would say the same thing about hip hop. There are people who feel like hip hop belongs only to Black people. They don't want to hear anything about Eminem. They don't want to hear anything about Third Base or anyone that came around that doesn't look like the likes of your Kanye's and your LL Cool J's. And I think those two are on opposite ends. And until that changes, they're going to follow what the fans want. I think that those hardcore fans at their main demographic feel like this belongs to us. Anybody else get in where you fit in, but we don't want it changed. That's how I really feel.
Thank you, Lena. Danny?
It's not going to change, period. And, you know, for me, one of the things, in my opinion, one of the reasons why Lil Nas X scared the country music industry was because that was an independent record. That was a record that started on SoundCloud, that by happen chance, Lil Nas X tweeted Billy Ray Cyrus, and Billy Ray Cyrus liked it and decided to re-record it with him. And is examples like that scared the country music industry, because what would happen if you have now 5 songs that are independently done that can hit the country charts without the gatekeepers? What if you have 100? You know, that's how it's going to change. The industry in and of itself is not going to change itself because it's comfortable. I mean, you know, they made $2 or $3 billion last year. Why would they change? So it's going to be up to independent artists like a Cynthia Mae Talley and others who can create their own lane, create their own fan bases, and can circumvent the system. And when the system starts to, you know, really getting hit in the pocket, then maybe they'll start to question themselves, but they're not going to change on their own.
Okay, and I speaking to you, Danny, I misspoke earlier. Apparently, I think I said that Lil Nas X was with Garth Brooks' Billy Ray Cyrus. So I apologize, everyone. Got that mixed up. I've learned so much and studied so much. Cynthia, and then I'm gonna have Jeff close us out with the song. Cynthia, do you have any closing comments?
I think with country music, my white world feels like they own that. So Black people are have arms open more than them. And to have something so precious that they call their own, which truly is not, was not, but has been taken, like it's so easy for them to take a name or take a land or take something, because that's what they do. And I don't mean no harm. My grandparents was white, thank you. But anywho, no matter how light you are, it doesn't get you in the door. I had a lady tell me that I was the look they wanted. Well, no, honey, I didn't get in either. But anywho, I don't think it's going to change. I think they have something they think is theirs and they don't want to share it. And that's fine. But like you said, I guess you just got to sneak in the back door. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
There it is.
Okay. Okay, thank you, everyone. I just wanted to say, you know, whether we can relate to the songs like Honky Tonkin' or Black Like Me or both, country music appears to be here to stay. And so I hope that all of us, panelists and viewers, will explore this genre of music, listen to some of it, get to know things about it, more things about it. I hope that the music industry, even though, you know, it's here to stay and a lot of things won't change, I just hope that they discern ways that they can change some things to increase inclusion within the music, country music industry. Jeff, tell us the name of the song and the artist.
Hi there, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
This has been recorded by everybody. It's very old. It's called Ghost Riders in the Sky by Stan Jones. Sort of it's really more Western than it is country. This guy, I guess, imagine seeing a herd of cattle in the sky. That's the devil's herd, and they give him a warning. And we'll at least play to the chorus. And feel free to sing along. My good microphone broke setting this up, so we're on my little computer mic there. We'll see how it goes. An old cowboy went riding out one dark and windy day. Upon a ridge he rested as he went along his way, when all at once a mighty herd of red-eyed cows he saw, plowing through the ragged sky and up the cloudy draw. Their brandons were still on fire and their hooves were made of steel. Their horns were black and shiny and their hot breath he could feel. A bolt of fear went through him as they thundered through the sky, for he saw the riders coming hard and he heard their mournful cry. Yippee-yi-yo, yippee-yi-yi, Ghost riders in the sky.
Wow. Thank you, Jeff Mangum.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks very much. That was awesome.
That
Jeff
was
Mangum,
awesome, dude.
live performance. And thank you to Cynthia Mae Talley, my cousin, who also sang at the beginning. Thank you to all other panelists, everybody tonight. This has been an amazing, enlightening dialogue. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on with me as panelists. Thank you, viewers, for watching. Everybody, please like this video, share it, so that other people can hear what we had to say about the country music industry. Thank you and good night. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.